So pro-business advocacy, I've hinted on that a little bit, but really I'm going to a lot of the ribbon cuttings with the mayor, making sure the business community sees that the planning department has an advocate within it, that if they have questions about the planning process, the permit process, how can we streamline it, that they have a point person within there that they can trust to go to, air grievances, also air praises. So those come through the department as well. But being that advocate for the business community is very important. Also, permit facilitation. Those areas where a problem comes up there, where they may have an approved project. I'd say Brewster's. There's a snafu late in the late hit came in with NES, and knowing weaving through and getting a resolution to that. We had Pella Windows, helping them through the process. They eventually put their project on hold, but making sure that they knew ahead of time as they were getting in. Music City Studios is still moving forward. They are still funding or putting money into the development of their plan, as well as Costco. I think that's probably the biggest project we've seen in a while come through. I'll say these two photos were from the site earlier today. They have broken ground. They are putting in their erosion controls measures right now, so the BMPs. We're almost, I wouldn't say daily, but several times a week, we're in communication directly with them. So we've never had a doubt in the planning department that this was a project. All the rumors that came in, just really just went out the other ear because we knew what was going on. And safe to say, we won't say what their opening date is, but on their website, they expect to be open this year, so by the end of the year. So we'll let them make the big announcement on that, but we're very excited. And this was an effort, with the codes department, the planning department, COO, the mayor, all the executives. Everybody was on board. Public Works has been fantastic to work with. So just the collaboration around Costco was really a model for the city, just how well we work together as a city. It really reinforced that commitment we have to Costco, but also made them very comfortable as they moved through. There was never a question, there was never a delay that it was caused by the city. So I think this is a really good shining example of just the planning department at its best, as well as the city. Interdepartmental, I'll just breeze through this one, hopefully. I don't want to take too much time here. But one of the key things that I was brought in to do was review grants, looking for additional monies where they're available, pursuing only those that are a good fit, not wasting time and money from city staff or our consultants that are pursuing grants. Sometimes the Public Works Department, where I can, again, use that experience I have helping with capital improvement projects, supporting those, say like Exit 8, having eyes on that as well. They don't need a lot of my support over there, but always happy to extend my assistance to the Public Works team. With IT, I'm one of the Director Free and I are at the forefront, along with IT, in really reviewing that whole system, making sure that it works, making sure that it ties in all of our departments, that we're moving our permits through the most effective and efficient way possible, without any redundancy, really tying that system in so that we can do analyses from the data that it generates, not just process permits through it, but tying in all these systems. Again, I'm kind of a data wonk, so even in EnerGov, it produces a good amount of data that's going to be very useful in economic development, as well as other areas of the city, to be able to compile those data, run various reports, and ultimately just streamline the process as much as possible so that the business community and residents are getting the best service possible. Executive research, many times I'll get from the executive team emails just with simple questions, not very complex, for side questions, just it might take an hour of research, but I've got a lot of experience in various areas, and they know that they can ask for that assistance when necessary. A very small part of the job, but always a pleasure to do that background research, knowing where to look. And then lastly for me, working with regional partners, GNRC, the Nashville Chamber, TVA, TDEC even, the Army Corps of Engineers, some of the projects touching in on them, Forward Sumner with Jimmy Johnson over there. Really not just being so focused on Hendersonville, but where do we play that role in the greater region, and how our projects, as we're recruiting, are interacting with the broader community. And I think one of those things that the greater Nashville region brags itself on is that cooperation, that coordination, interdepartmental. So not just inside the cities, but how we work well together. And it really makes it a good place for everybody to work and play. So I'll hand it off to Director Free to talk a little bit about our GIS.
Hey, Jay, we've
Yes.
got a question. I think it's specific for you, so we're going to interrupt Keith here real quick. Alderman Robertson.
So in your discussions with in businesses, what do you believe is the greatest impediment in Hendersonville for businesses relocating here? I know it's a general question, but
Mayor, Alderman, I think that from what I've seen, an impediment, it's always an unknown process. I think the not having a landing page for how long a permit takes, what are the costs, and who are the eyes that are going to be on that. The reluctance to get into the permit process because of they do all the market research, they know where they should be, but black boxes of cities as far as the administration of permitting is really is always a detriment for a city. If you don't have a landing page where it really enumerates out what codes are going to be applicable and what fees are associated with those. If you need 4 different types of permits just in the planning department, are all 4 necessary, or can it be done in 2? Each permit has a cost associated with it, an application fee, various departments that are looking at it. So really just spelling that out. So it's almost like a flow chart that's something that we're working on in EnerGov is that workflow. So we're trying to streamline as much as possible so that we have a much more simplified application process for people. And I think that would help to answer that question.
so land is not a problem? Available land?
Mayor, Alderman, from what I've seen, no.
Okay.
We have capacity. We have the office. We have a good amount of commercial that's still available. Lots of pockets. I just drove around a week and a half ago with an individual that's looking to relocate here from Chicago, and he was very impressed with the amount of choice that he had in the area, whether it be greenfield or existing building stock that we had. So knowing, and that's one of the things that we're working on also, is we don't know where all of that is currently. So part of the GIS, sorry Keith, part of the GIS is we're finding those so that we'll know where to go. We'll be more of a service-oriented, really pushing that out, those data out there.
You may not be able to answer this, but you talked about recycling opportunity. Is that a recycling processing plant? Or can you not say? I mean,
it's not a processing plant.
Okay, then that's good.
It's categories. The category that it would fall into would be a little bit different than that. But it's
okay.
exciting.
I just wanted to make sure it's not, a processing plant, because that would bring a lot of traffic and other environmental potential problems. So my last question was Glenbrook. Texas Roadhouse left Glenbrook, and they were a major business in that park. So do we have some leads on Glenbrook, or can you not say at this time?
Mayor and Alderman, that particular building, from my understanding, is the reason that they left that one is there was profit sharing that was going on that they didn't want to be a part of anymore. If that owner of that building and or land is too restrictive, anything we do won't really help. So, we have specific roles as economic development, and as a city and as a planning department, but ultimately free market has a big role in that as well. And I think that particular building has more free market hindrances than it does governance.
Thank you.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Keith?
As you can see, Jay has been very busy. But even more than being busy, he's highly effective. You can see just from the things that he's explained that we're involved, as far as economic development, we're involved on multiple different levels of addressing a lot of different things. One of the things that's really important with our economic development is that we maintain and even expand our position as a regional shopping and shopping and service area around our community. This is vital to the financial future and security of our community, with our tax base and with the different services and things that are provided as well. And that's one of the things, is all the things that Jay was talking about. Those are the things that we're blending something and looking at things from a different angle and doing things in a different manner, and with planning, with our financial planning for our future, and with our economic development, and not looking at keeping those siloed where we're just kind of doing whatever you could you'd be limited to do in those different areas, but to combine those things and do those in a very effective way so that we're maximizing, leveraging things for our community. One of the things with I'll just explain this real quick, our GIS mapping system that we've undertaken, this has been something that's been, over the last 2 years, has been a vision of something that we wanted to do. All the parts are now lining up with the addition of Jay and his abilities, as well as the position about a year ago of our mapping specialist, J.P. Finnegan, that is within the planning department as well. This gives us the tools to then pursue a GIS database that is a database that's driven toward economic development, and we're going to be harnessing all of the data of all of the existing buildings, the uses, and all of the financial data as far as what city services what amount of funding are we expending on city services for particular parcels of property, and then how much revenue is being generated from those parcels of property, and then to get the net of, okay, is this financially something that's beneficial to the bottom line of the city? And in creating this database, it will have multiple layers where all of this information, not just zoning and land use, but it'll have financial information that will be connected to it as well. And one of the things that's going to be very important from a economic development standpoint is this database isn't going to be a Polaroid snapshot of what's going on, and then after a year or two, the information is stale. This is something we're tying into planning in our permitting process and all the information we keep up with daily, so that will drive and update this system daily. So this will be a living document and a living database that we can search and keep up with things. Some of those things that are going to be very vital from an economic development perspective are going to be knowing what all businesses do we have, and what subcategories of business types and sectors are there, so that we can look at that information, and then also what properties are available and how long have they been available. And then we're going to have on our website, once we have all that in place, we're going to have that where it's searchable, where someone that's interested in expanding their business or coming to our community to start a business, they will be able to see what all the vacant properties are, commercial, industrial properties that are available. And in addition to that, one thing I think it's really important in maintaining our regional presence as a regional shopping and service area is having this database will let us triage, and it'll send off alarms. For example, let's just say New Shackle Island Road. Let's say there were 8 businesses or 8 buildings that meet criteria that were vacant for more than 6 months, and maybe the gross receipts of sales tax revenue has been decreased by 40% over a certain period of time. Then we can have the database pop up and let us know, like an alarm, that, hey, something's not quite right. And then that would let our economic development professional take a look at that. And then maybe we find out, then we get into finding out what's the problem over here. Is it something that's really market-driven, that's really maybe out of our control, like a Texas Roadhouse type of situation? Or is it something that maybe with a very limited amount of funds, catching something early, we can do some things and make some small investments to stabilize that area so it doesn't affect a greater area. So that's something that I think is going to be very important to our community in the future with this GIS. And then I'll just cut it off right there. But Jay and I can answer any questions that anyone has, Mayor.
Anything? Alderman Bergdorf.
Yes, what does GIS stand for?
It's a good question. It's Geographic Information Systems. So it's basically like you do a map, and it's a colored map, and like if you're familiar with the property valuation map, where you look at your property and it has your lot and everything. So all the lots in the city, they're all defined by boundaries. And then actually even further, like some of the strip centers down, the commercial strip centers down West Main Street, those areas have subparcels that we're going to create as well. So then you can do different colors that will show different things, like how much tax revenue are we generating, or how many jobs are there, or how many businesses have been there for 5 or more years. One thing I will mention that I forgot to mention is our pilot area is going to be the Westlake plan area. So everything we're talking about, this GIS, we're going to do it for the whole city. Eventually, we're going to have mostly the data for the whole city, but we're going to focus on Westlake here after we get this created. So for the first year or so, we're going to put all the focus of this GIS, the power of this GIS, into that area to stimulate more commercial and office investment within that area.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you,
the answer.
Alderman.
Yes.
Alderman Bergdorf, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Don't go anywhere. I saw you try to get away. Is this going to, the GIS city data that you're accumulating, will this use existing systems that we have at the city, or will this require additional city systems? And if it does, what is the cost to that?
Yeah, we're going to be creating the system, but this isn't anything that we're going to have an outside group come in and do. This is something we're doing with our own resources, and we're going to be using it with our financial system that's being transformed and update. The InterGov system that Jay was talking about, that's where we do our permitting and all of that different stuff. And so all of that data will basically be harnessed into this GIS database. And with the foresight of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen just a couple of years ago to fund the position in our department for a mapping professional, that mapping professional, that's one of the biggest investments of the cost associated with it, of building this. But it's not something where it's thousands and thousands of dollars to create it. It's something that we're going to create ourselves. And this is something that has been done, to our knowledge, it's been done in other cities, but it's been done in a snapshot, where you take a snapshot and, oh, here it is, and now this is what we need to do. But to my knowledge, there's not a city like ours that has it where it's a daily updated information. And I think it'll be something too, all of this data, because there will be a lot of particular financial data associated with businesses that won't be available to the public. But I think this will be a system that the public, as time goes on, will be able to utilize the power of it as well. So that's kind of what we envision. And we also see, in addition to the business-related things, which it's all tied to economic development, but police and fire responses and different things at specific locations where all of that information is in one database, a searchable database, where you can, if you're looking at a particular piece of property, you can find almost anything that you want. And when we have that information is power, and data is power. And the future of a strong, vibrant community on economic development and making wise economic development decisions is based on good data. And so that's really what this whole effort is to build a system that gives us good data that then helps our decision makers as you're making decisions to look at that. One of the things that we're looking to do with this as well, not necessarily, especially on buy right things, but on rezonings and things like that. What we envision here after we get this created is that every item that goes before the Planning Commission, we might have a sheet, and that sheet will basically give the tally of what the economic impact to the city of that particular development, whether it's a Brewster's Ice Cream or an office complex or apartment complex or anything. And then we can tally that out and show in 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 15, 25 years, this is the economic impact of that.
Keith, I think
Not that-
we might
I'm
have
sorry,
something else
yeah,
here.
But is this my turn? Okay. Does that include like housing developments as well? Would that
Yeah.
be included in that?
It would
Okay.
include all of that.
Okay.
All of that information.
This
Yes, sir.
system sounds pretty smart. One last question.
Yes.
Will it help me with my March Madness bracket?
It could.
Okay,
It could. Maybe not this year, but next year I've got a good feeling about it.
That's all I
Alderman-
have. Thank you.
Alderman.
Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Alderman Collins.
You may have just answered my question, which is when will the system be, I imagine it'll be released in phases with additional data coming online over
Right.
time, but when do you expect phase one and completion?
Right. One of the important parts of this is tying the financial information from our finance department. And there are things, I think, in Munis, and there's transitions that are being made in that system that will then tee up where that can occur. And there's going to be things that we're going to need to do with our business license information, where we may need to go through, and it may be a hardware store or a car lot or a restaurant. We may need to go back through and tag very specific classification of that type of business so that it links well and is very usable for the system. So we don't have a particular date, but as everything else that we're working on, we're moving at a very quick pace on that. But thank you, Alderman.
Thank you.
Keith, Jay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you providing this information. Next item on our agenda is public hearing. We don't have any. And then I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the minutes that were provided to you for our March 28th, 2023 meeting. We have a motion from Alderman Sassy. I think it was a second from Alderman Goodwin. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of approving the minutes from March 28th that were provided to you in your packet, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. And we have an abstention from Alderman Dixon and abstention from Alderman Waters. Okay. Citizen comments. We have one person signed up, and that's Mrs. McMullen of Pin Oak Drive.
Hello, I'll be brief. I just thought I would take this opportunity to, because I've been truly disturbed by our Tennessee House. And I came here to commend the students of Hendersonville, that they showed their interest in politics and in communicating their interest, and they were interested enough to speak up, speak their minds. These people are the future leaders of the state of Tennessee and the country and the world. And it was very enlightening to have them participate in free speech and in speaking their mind to the issues at hand. Personally, I was really disgusted by some of the representatives and their comments, including a Sumner County representative. I wanted you all to know that tonight, or this afternoon, you may know already, Governor Lee signed a executive order. I'm torn between speaking off the top of my head and reading notes, which I shouldn't ever do. But he signed an executive order aimed at strengthening background checks for firearm purchases, in addition to calling for lawmakers to pass an order of protection law to keep guns away from people who present danger to themselves or to others. He's asking the General Assembly to bring forward an order of protection law. Anyway, that is pretty much all I had to say. Thank you. I commend our students of Hendersonville. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McMullen. We have nothing on our consent agenda. Now we're down to ordinance and resolutions. The first one we have is first reading of ordinance 2023-8. This is an ordinance amending ordinance 2022-11 as amended to reflect adjustments to the city's 2023 fiscal year budget. I have a motion from Alderman Sassy and a second from Alderman Robertson. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving ordinance on first reading 2023-08, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we have resolution 2023-13. This is a resolution accepting the dedication of the completed streets in Hunt Club Phase 8 and Phase 12 in Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee. We have a motion from Alderman Robertson and a second from Alderman Peterson. Alderman Collins.
I would like to ask a question from our Public Works Director. Alderman Garton and I recently received some correspondence from constituents in this neighborhood who are concerned about the street trees. That's the tree between the sidewalk and the street, being, a lot of them are dead.
Yes.
And so I was hoping that you could speak, so it's part of the record tonight, as to how accepting these streets impacts the developer replacing those trees.
Sure. So the street trees are something that were noted by the planning department through the reviews. They are the ones who inspect street trees specifically, and they did note several that they're dead or damaged. Some were damaged from the windstorm, and they felt comfortable with proceeding with accepting the streets and then managing that replacement effort through the 1-year maintenance period. So we still have surety in place for those trees, and then we have a year for them to replace them and make sure that they're thriving, or we don't release their surety after that year. We would just extend that maintenance period.
Okay. And to clarify, they get the surety back for the paving, but not for the portion that's considered appropriate for the trees.
They don't get all of their surety back. There's a maintenance surety that we hold for paving and sidewalks also.
And if they do not replace them within a year, does the city then use that money to replace them?
We could opt to do that. Typically, we would just extend the maintenance period and work with them to get them replaced. But that is an option.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alderman Collins, thank you. Anything else? All those in favor of resolution 2023-13, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on to resolution 2023-15. This is a resolution authorizing the city's Department of Parks and Recreation to apply for a Kaboom Community Playground Grant. Alderman Peterson. Motion?
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson and a second from Alderman Sassy. Alderman Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. This Kaboom Playground Grant is outlined in our packet. I think we can apply for up to a $100,000 grant for playground equipment, and I'm certainly in favor of this resolution. And if anyone has questions, Park Director Gilly is here if anyone needed any more information.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Any questions? Alderman Sassy.
Yes, Mr. Gilly, if you could approach, I do have one quick question. And it's really, if you could explain what this, just the purposes behind this grant and how this organization works and the benefit to our community.
So the purpose of the grant is to replace playgrounds in areas that may not have the best playgrounds, or also in areas of our city that may be somewhat economically disadvantaged. We don't have a lot of those areas, as Keith can tell you from the GIS, but we do certainly have areas like that. There's very few areas of our parks that fit in those. Sanders Ferry Park has some very outdated playgrounds. This is where we would locate this one. The unique thing about this grant is it's kind of a community build. So if we receive the grant, we'll be reaching out to the groups in our community to come help us build it. The company provides supervisors, and the city of Goodlettsville has been successful twice with this. So hope that answers your question.
It most certainly does.
Thank
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Any other questions? Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2023-15, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're on to Resolution 2023-16. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Social Indoor Advertising for advertising in city park facilities to benefit the city park system. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson, a second from Alderman Waters. Alderman Peterson, anything on this?
Yes, Mayor, again, this is outlined in the packet, I think, under item number 4. And it's a social indoor advertising. And again, Director Gilley is available if anyone has any questions.
Alderman Sassy.
I'm sorry. Sat all the way back down there. I just had another quick question. How much revenue is this expected to bring in for the parks and for the city?
I would anticipate between $5,000 to $10,000
Per year?
Per year, yes,
Okay.
sir. It's not a lot, but it's
Yeah.
more than what we had when we started.
And where would these be located?
They're mostly located in all our restrooms. It's kind of, you've probably seen these. We've had them in the parks for a few years, but this contract puts the control back with the city more than the previous agreement that they had with the Civitan Club.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Andy, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Yes, I asked this question to Director Gilley in the Public Works Committee, and I want to ask it for the record here. So that $5,000 to $10,000, the city will be able to utilize all of that money, is that right? Even though it's going through the Civitan Club?
Correct. It's designated to go 90% to the Civitan Club and 10% to the soccer clubs. And our arrangement with them is that they will reinvest that back into the park.
100% of it?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Peterson, I failed to thank you earlier. Do you have anything else?
Yes, I had one question. Will the advertisements be for local businesses?
Most of them, they try to target those. I'm going to say that not always are they. They may be from Nashville. They may be some others. But they do a very good job of trying to target our local businesses first.
That's all I needed.
And we all, just to tack on to that, we review the ads with this company way more control than we had with the other one, arrangement. So,
Well, I'm anxious to generate $10,000. That's a lot of money for the parks, and we appreciate you bringing that to us. And do you have an update on the Hendersonville Beach game?
it's 5-0 Hendersonville, bottom of the second right now.
Nice. Thank
First
you,
one I've
Director.
ever missed.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate
Yes, sir.
that. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Peterson, thank you. Andy, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2023-16, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on to other agenda items. I'm going to entertain a motion that we appoint Ron Height to the Arts Council. That was Alderman Bergdorf. A motion and a second from Alderman Collins. Any discussion? All those in favor of the appointment of Ron Height to the Arts Council, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're on to reports, brief committee reports. Chairman Peterson, General Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be brief. General Committee met tonight. All the committee members were in attendance. We discussed Ordinance 2023-06, which is ordinance restructuring beautiful Hendersonville to incorporate them under the city. And we also read Resolution 2023-17 to declare Hendersonville as Hiring 2023 event, which is sponsored with the Chamber of Commerce. And basically, that's just to allow them to have signage throughout the city promoting that Hendersonville is hiring. And we also briefly discussed the budget and with Jesse Eckenroth, and budget is looking good. I want to appreciate the department heads working very diligently on their budgets to get those in line with the revenues that we have for our annual budgets. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Chairman Peterson, thank you. Now we're going to go to Chairman Goodwin on the Public Safety Committee.
We had a brief discussion about the budget draft review for fire and police. We also had a discussion about Code Red, trying to get it more uniform and consistent across the board. And we also discussed putting a baby box in the Hendersonville area. And that was all of our business for this evening.
Chairman Goodwin, thank you. Next, Planning Commission, Alderman Martin.
Good evening. So we had our Planning Commission meeting back in March. We introduced the Westlake Plan to the Planning Commission. They reviewed it and made a lot of changes, which we've already updated in our last meeting. But the process was still ongoing. And so there were a few additional changes. The first one is over at it's on the screen now, it's the mixed-use neighborhood. We had originally made that residential. However, if you've driven down Shivel Drive, you've noticed that a lot of those are actual businesses. So the change that they made was to pull down the Old Town or the mixed-use neighborhoods so that it would allow commercial activities there. And that supports some of our local developers that already own property there. And that's something, you know, we spent a lot of time on the resident portion of it, but I think the Planning Commission did a great job of balancing their interest and extending that that mixed-use neighborhood that allows commercial down to Imperial. Then there was another slide that we talked about. This is over at Freehill Road. There was some confusion on it I wanted to talk through. And the area in the solid orange, that's the area that the Planning Commission approved to be the 10 units per acre. And this was to support the upcoming Music City Studios project. In addition, there is potential plans to make Freehill Road continue on and connect to the freeway. And so this is a great opportunity that they evaluated and approved. The area that's in the stripes, that's not approved. What I think that is if Music City Studios takes off and we do have a housing shortage, that's what we could do to accommodate that in the future. Any questions on Westlake?
Alderman Robertson, there you go.
So,
There you go.
so the Freehill area, the road, that was zoned for industrial. And is that being changed to residential?
Yes, so that's industrial now, general commercial.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be, I think, mixed use with 10, with a limit of 10 units per acre.
Keith, let's have some help from you if you could. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman. Yeah, what that is, Alderman, as Alderman Martin was explaining, just that area that's in the orange, or it kind of looks reddish up there, that's the area that's the Freehill focus area that's limited to mixed-use development at 10 units an acre. That area in the hashed area, that's not reflected on anything that was approved. That was actually just a slide that if that discussion came up, about expanding that, but no planning commissioner brought that up, so we didn't actually discuss it. But that could be something in the future if someone wanted to do, if we needed an expansion of that, that would seem to be a logical expansion of that area. And it could be something that could be brought back in the future if somebody had a project where we could revisit that.
So let me make sure I understand what you said. So this was in the original plan by the consultants to move this from industrial to mixed development residential.
No,
It was not?
no. Are you talking about the hashed area?
I'm talking about the orange area.
Yes, that is, and that's actually, the majority of that is zoned commercial currently. That's where Tennessee Quick Cash, the 3-story glass building that's vacant over there, that's where that area is along Main Street.
Okay, so maybe I'm thinking, where's
You're
the
thinking-
fire hall on here?
If you
Up,
yeah,
up.
right there. Yeah, right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's
I'm sorry.
yeah, that's okay. That's where that is.
Yeah.
But that would be if there was ever a quality project that wanted to look at that expanding to Rockland Road, that would be an area that could look at that. But this is not within the approved. The orange red area is, but that other area that's not. And the area north of that where the fire hall is, as Alderman Martin said, that was taken off and kept as industrial.
Thank
and the
you.
front part of it's commercial as well.
Thank you for the orientation.
You're welcome.
I'm-
Thank you.
Hold on one second. Alderman Sassy, a question for Alderman Martin or for Keith? Hold on one second. Just, I gotta fix something here.
Yeah.
There we go. Go ahead.
All right, well, and you asked one of my questions I had, but the only other question I had, can you tell us the original, for the entire Westlake plan, can you tell us the original number of additional residential units that could hit the area, and now the number of residential units in that area, in the Westlake plan?
Sure. So the original had 2,716 units, and the Planning Commission reduced that to 555 total potential units.
So that's a reduction of 2,200 units approximately?
Yes, they did a great job.
Yeah. And that's additional units than what's already there, is that correct? So that's an opportunity for those areas to have residents on them that don't currently have residents, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So they reduced it over 2,000 units from where we started.
Bravo to the Hendersonville Planning Commission. I just want to make sure they are thanked for that. So thank you very much, and thank you for your support on that and being on that board and being a part of that. Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Anything else, Alderman Martin?
Yeah, so the timeline for the Westlake plan is, I think we're estimating at about 4 months. That's time for the staff to review the language and make sure it's correct and are comfortable with the new zoning. They're going to target the original Old Town residential, Old Town commercial. And the 4 months gives time for people who own property in that area, if they want to develop under the current code, they can do so, or if they want to wait for the new code, they can do it later. That's it for the Westlake. There were 2 projects, Cherokee Woods subdivision, which was submitted. That was just a technical adjustment. Smiles by Samantha submitted a site plan, which was approved. And then Whataburger is coming. It's going to go into the Black Eyed Pea building. They're going to knock it down and build it there. So I'm personally excited about that because I'm from Texas originally. And I did like what the Planning Commission did. They realized that there's going to be a lot of traffic during the first month or two. So they've asked for a traffic mitigation plan with logistics to be approved. So we'll all get a chance to look at that. And of course, Whataburger will pay for it. And that's it for me.
Alderman Martin, thank you. Next on our agenda is we have a BOMA report. Jesse, do you want to speak on that? right, thank you. There we go.
Thanks, Jesse. Just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things going on in the community and what we as a city are doing and what I'm doing to just help always make our image look good, to help reach residents better and improve our communications. So hopefully a lot of you guys have seen our social media posts. I've been trying to push things as much as I can. Recently, we have promoted all the paving that we have going on in various parts of the city. We've talked about beautiful Hendersonville and their nomination process. So if you guys can continue to see those and share those posts and help spread the word. And then also, if you would consider just making your own post on each of your personal pages or your ward pages, just encourage people to follow the city's page, both on Facebook and Instagram. That would be a huge help. We are really trying to grow that. We don't have that many followers right now. We really want to get word out because it's a great way to get messages out when we need to. We do have some exciting signs that have been ordered that are coming that we're going to put at each of our capital project locations that highlight infrastructure improvement. And they'll have a QR code on the signs, so as people go by and see them, it'll be a big QR code that they can grab, and that will take them to our capital projects page, which will highlight all the things that the city is doing. So we're going to be putting them out where the traffic light synchronization is going on, by the Greenway, by Fire Hall 7, the rugby bathrooms when that gets going, and we'll have some extras to kind of float around the city to kind of show people their tax dollars at work. So we're excited about that. We also working on a fire safety video. I did that this morning with Andy and with Chief Bush to kind of highlight the importance of teaching our juveniles and teens some fire safety because we had the 2 fires at the bathrooms. Luckily, that wasn't any personal damage, but it was property damage, so we're working to kind of get some safety messages out about that. And then we're also going to be pushing a press release soon. We were selected by Mars Pet Care as a Better Cities for Pets, and so they've gotten our information out on a website, and we're excited to promote that so our residents can know that we have been given that honor, and thanks to Andy for filling out that application and doing all the work to make that happen.
Any questions for Casey or for Jesse? Alderman Robertson.
Share with us the good news that beautiful Hendersonville announced with TDOT.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's real exciting, and I thank you, Alderman Garza, working with beautiful Hendersonville. Kathy and her team's doing a great job. So
Kathy may get me for stealing her thunder later this month. But yes, they had a great cleanup day at the end of March. It was huge. They had over 200 volunteers from our city alone. I think we had one of the biggest turnouts across the county that day. Cleaned up all over the city. It looked amazing. And as a part of that day, we really worked our TDOT representative that was here, and Kathy's continued to push that. And they have announced that they are going to be working on cleaning up Vietnam veterans more regularly. I think once a month was what I was told. So that'll be great because that's an area that we know really needs it, and it's one that's harder for our volunteers to do.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Anything else for Casey or for Jesse? Jesse, do you have anything else? Thank you, Casey.
I want to thank Andy Gilly too. He does a lot of these grants, applications that come up. You know, he did the pet-friendly city. There's a lot of these behind the things that Andy is very dedicated to. So Andy, thank you for that. Indoor social advertising, all these things add up over time, so it makes a difference. I'd also like to have Tamara come up and give us some good news on our investment policy.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to say thank you so much for approving the revised investment policy at the last meeting. And a couple of days after that, and the last day of March, we actually made our first deposit into our investment account through the LGIP. And that was a $4 million investment, and we earned $500 in one day in March. But since then, there are limits on how much we can actually withdraw from our bank on a day-to-day basis. But as of today, we have $14.5 million invested in the state investment pool, and we're going to be continuing to grow that as much as our cash allows. We probably within the next week we'll have another $6 to $8 million invested in there. It's going well. Interest rates through March were at 4.64%. And so at that rate, it's earning some considerable funds. We'll get a much better idea of a monthly amount when we get to the end of April and see the earnings there. But it's going really well, and it's a revenue stream that we have not had, so it's all new revenue for the city.
Hold on here. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you. Can we just start all of our meetings with a report like that? I mean,
Well, ending,
that's great news.
ending on a high note is good too.
Yeah, it's very true. That's all I had.
Alderman Sassy, thank you. Jesse? Thank you, Tamara.
Tamara's done a lot of work to kind of make that happen because the day after it passed, I'm like, hey, where's our money at? Where's it going? So we're pulling out the maximum wire is like $4.5 million at a time. And since then, our bank has said, hey, wait a minute, we could probably do better on our interest rate if you keep our money with you. So we're going to just see what we can do there. But we're going to end up probably earning, thousands and thousands of dollars a week on our investment policy. So thank you very much, Finance Committee. Thank you for the work that you've done in expediting that process.
Jesse, we have a question for Alderman Robertson.
So we're now earning 4.6. What were we earning before on the money when it was just sitting in the bank?
Yeah, I think it was.
Less than 0.5%. Thank you.
We also didn't have as much money in there, but that's anything else?
Yeah, so it's a completely new line item in our revenue category for next year. I guess that's the upside of inflation. Okay. I just wanted to highlight the good work that Sarah Locke and Trace Burkett are doing. We've been out paving roads. They've been crushing it with all the new paving that's going on, so thank you for the mid-year budget amendment that has allowed us to go out and pave. So we are out doing that. We have been working on a way to report vacation rentals that are a little more streamlined. So we'll be pushing an email out to you probably this week or early next week for a simplified way for us to enforce vacation rentals and to give everyone some more information on vacation rentals. So be on the lookout for that. Another thing is this year we received about $560,000 from FEMA as a reimbursement from the tornado that we had December 21. So we will likely be bringing that to the Finance Committee next week to purchase a knuckle boom truck, all the trucks that go out and they pick up the debris out of the roadways. And we're just going to kind of do that because we're recognizing some revenue this year instead of placing the strain on the budget next year to look at doing that and some PD vehicles this year. So that's likely going to be on the next agenda for finance. And then lastly, just real briefly, going to go over some of the report that's in front of you. Revenues continue to do well above trends. Police calls for service upticked a bit. And the chief said that's largely probably due to school being out, some warmer weather. So there's a natural escalation in some of those calls that we've had. Upcoming events have been updated on here as well. And then on page 53, there's a before and after picture of a street that we recently paid because of the mid-year budget adjustment. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Next on our agenda is adjournment. I'm going to entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Sassy.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
We're 3 seconds.
And a second from Alderman Garza. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. We have passed unanimously. We're adjourned.